It's only preseason. It's only preseason. It's only preseason. It's only preseason. Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, we're going to be taking a look back at the absolute disaster that was preseason week 3, 49ers at the Houston Texans, where the 49ers just got demolished 17-0. We didn't put up a single point. But before we get into that review, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who stopped by this stream. You know, it was one of those games where, from a 49ers perspective, there wasn't much to talk about. But overall, you know, the Niners, didn't play well, but you guys made the stream a whole lot of fun. I love the engagement. Stay tuned, because every single game this season, I'm going to be here streaming the games, live reacting, and that was kind of like a warm-up for me. So it was a lot of fun to see you guys out there, and appreciate all the likes and everything. So that's awesome. And not only that, I appreciate you watching this video here. So when I get into this review, though, full disclosure, I have not watched the second half. I have no intention to. It really seems like I missed nothing. So my thoughts here are going to be strictly on the first half of the game, which I was there live watching with you guys. So let's not waste any more time. We're jumping right in. Alrighty, so I think naturally the first thing that we need to talk about is the play of the quarterbacks, and specifically Trey Lance. But it's really hard to kind of gauge, how well you could say Trey Lance performed, simply because the blocking was horrendous. We look at his stats: 7 for 11, 49 yards. Very pedestrian numbers, no interceptions, and let's be fair to, Trent Williams wasn't out there, Elijah Mitchell wasn't out there, McGlinchey wasn't out there. We only had Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle for 1, maybe 2 drives out there. So, we weren't playing with everyone, so that let's, bear that in mind. But overall, Trey Lance was just under pressure from the get-go, really couldn't get much going. Did have a couple of nice throws. I thought the throw on the first drive to Debo Samuel was a really solid throw. Could have maybe put a little bit more on it to give Debo a little bit more of a chance, but overall, pretty well-placed throw. Debo went up to make it. You could argue defensive pass interference. Personally, I prefer when the refs don't make all those kind of calls, but the refs were definitely not consistent with that throughout the game. So Trey Lance, decent outing, all things considered, I guess. I'm going to really, push this down to not having your top 3-4 weapons out there, of course, is going to hurt you. And, Shanahan running a fairly vanilla scheme. There was a lot of plays that I noticed we were running out of shotgun, empty backfield. So clearly Shanahan was trying to mix things up. That's really not our game. We're much more of a behind center, I formation, Mitchell, Juszczyk, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. That's how we operate best. But I respect the fact that it's preseason. The results don't matter. The end result, like the score, doesn't really matter at the end of the season. So we're trying new things. So fair enough. But moving on from Trey Lance, the running backs, Trey Sermon, I kind of feel bad for the guy. I mean, I was really harsh on him, during the game, during the live stream. But kind of just like looking at it, like I've seen some clips and whatnot, and the blocking wasn't there. He did have a really nice run in the first quarter when, after a penalty, I think it was a holding penalty on Spencer Burford, it was like 1st and 16, and he gets 12 yards on first down. So then it really gets us in a manageable position, and then we're able to get a first down, get a couple of things going. But overall, there's just a lot of things where with Trey Sermon, it just feels like he doesn't have that extra gear, that extra step, where you can just, hit it and just go. So I really, really question whether he's going to make the 53-man roster. Initially, I really liked what I saw from Jeff Wilson Jr. He just doing his thing where he just north and south. He was just going right there forward, falling forward too. So picking up those extra couple yards, and that's what Shanahan loves to see, So overall, I thought Jeff Wilson Jr. was pretty good. Jordan Mason, immediately when he came in, had some nice runs too, and he had pretty much the same offensive line, if not even worse offensive line in front of him, and he made things happen. I think the really disappointing thing was the back-to-back plays where I don't know if it was maybe the second, third, or I can't remember which drive it was, but it was third down, and I believe it was Jalen Moore and it was Jalen Moore and Trey Sermon missed the block from the edge defender from Houston, which could have led to a big game, but both of them whiffed on the block. And then so that was on 3rd and 2. Both of them whiffed on the block. Trey Lance could have easily hit a deep pass if they could have just got some kind of block on the defender, but they didn't. The play right after that is that 4th and 2 play where, God, that was just an absolute disaster. You know, I have to give credit to Houston too, because their defenders were getting penetration immediately from the get-go. So they were beating our offensive line really badly. So full credit to Houston. But, you know, the offense as a whole, from what I saw in the first half, just not good enough. Sudfeld had a really bad interception. He was just looking at Tyler Kroft the whole way. But a couple of guys, if I had to talk about some bright sides, you know, I really do think that Jauan Jennings had a pretty solid game, had a nice catch down the field from Brock Purdy. You know, Jeff Wilson Jr. played pretty well. And that's kind of about it from what I saw. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to fix. And it's a good thing that we have 17 days to get ready for week 1, because boy, do we need that time. As Trent Williams said, the coach, he's going to be doing some coaching. Before we move on to the defense, so we really just have to talk about the offensive line and players in particular. Jalen Moore at left tackle, complete disaster. I don't want to see that again. Aaron Banks, you know, I think he definitely missed on some blocks, you know, but maybe I think he's getting a worse rap than really what he deserves. He didn't play great by any means, but I think people are being like overly critical of him. Spencer Burford, not a great game. You know, blocking was at best okay, but 2 holding penalties, so that's not going to cut it. I thought Jake Brendel was pretty solid out there in very limited time. McKivitz was okay, but we really, really need a guy like Trent Williams out there. And where's Daniel Brunskill? I hope that Brunskill can get healthy, ready to go for week 1, because, hey, if I still had to guess, I think week 1, the offensive line is going to be Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, Burford, and then McGlinchey if he's healthy, if not McKivitz. But I think that a guy like Brunskill is going to be so huge and really valuable for us, simply because if Banks or Burford are struggling, we know that Daniel Brunskill can play the guard position in this scheme. So I really hope Brunskill can get healthy by week 1. But now let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. With regards to the defense, I think honestly, outside of the first drive that Houston had, I'm really impressed. I think the defense played really, really well. We were showing that we were getting some pressure. We're still making some plays, you know, interceptions wise. And but just that first drive, that's the one that, you know, from the first half that really sticks out. You know, it was 7-0 at halftime, I believe. And that's the drive that just, you know, hangs with me, where every single play, first down, they were running, getting 6, 7, 8 yards. When a team does that consistently, you're just not going to stop them. When a team then has 2 downs to get 2 yards, more often than not, they're going to convert it. You know, the offensive line from Houston was just pushing our guys back, you know, 2, 3, 4 yards down the field before the defensive line could even just get it, you know, hold their spot. You know, really, really disappointing from a run defense aspect, but something to keep in mind too. I believe we only had 1, maybe 2 starters for our first team defense out there against Houston's number 1 starting offense, with the exception of Brandon Cooks wasn't out there. But so that's something to kind of think about too. But after that first drive, I think the defense played well. We had, right after that drive, we had, you know, 3 and out, 3 and out. And then later on in the first half, when after the interception that Sudfeld threw, you know, put us in a really bad situation. The Texans were already in the red zone. And what happens, I think it was maybe the first or second play of that drive, Davis Mills throws it to the end zone. Samuel Womack, wow, he just had a great play, a great pass defense, got his hand in there, but then he also kind of like punches it. So the ball flips up, and Tarvarius Moore right there to make the interception. A huge play for the defense in a spot where that's a really difficult spot for the defense. I don't really care that it's preseason. Like, if you are a defense and your offense throws an interception and bam, the offense that you're going against is already at the 19-yard line, I think it was, and you can not give up any points, that is a massive win. Unfortunately, the offense couldn't really do anything to help out the defense in the game. We didn't score a damn point. So, but the defense, there were some positives to look at. Sammy Womack continues to look great. You know, I think initially, when I was watching the game live, that pass interference called against him, I was like, that's pass interference. But in hindsight, and I've looked at that play a couple more times now, and look, Womack, he looks back for the ball. He makes a play for the ball. Both guys are kind of, there's like some hand things going on. But I don't actually think that was a pass interference. And here's the thing. If they're not going to call pass interference on the play against Deebo Samuel on the first drive of the game, then you can't call it on Womack there. So, but hey, the refs, it's still preseason for the refs too, I guess. They're trying to get into regular season form. But the defense, I thought after that was really, really positive. The defensive line stepped up big time. We know that, Ebukam had a sack, and I think he looked great. I think Ebukam should have, if he can stay healthy, and that's what he's done his whole career, I think he's going to have a double-digit sack year. Just my opinion. But also, Omenihu, big sack as well. And I'm trying to think who else had a sack. I think it was maybe Jordan Willis. Don't quote me on that. But the defense really stepped their game up after that. So I can't blame the defense. I think they played really well after that first drive. And there is one more thing that I'm going to talk about just to round off the video. But hey, offense, not good at all. Defense, really just, and here's the thing, the defense is going to carry us, especially early on. Trey Lance, he hasn't played a ton of football. I don't care that he, sat for a year, he knows the scheme, but he needs to play. And I'm glad the first couple of games are not against the best teams, but I do think the first 5-6 games, we really need the defense, to be healthy, and really just they need to make plays, because I think they're going to have to carry the offense a little bit. Hopefully we can get the run game going though. But I'm going to round off the video. There's just one more topic that I want to talk about, and we're going to jump right into that. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video, and it's something that's just so frustrating to watch, are the penalties. The penalties, the penalties, the penalties. Not just in this game, but we had 11 penalties for over 100 yards. But looking at the preseason as a whole, in the 3 games of the preseason that we've played in, this team averages 9 penalties a game for 70 yards, and that's just the ones that were accepted. I'm trying to think if there are ones that we got that were declined. But we just have to be a lot more, we can't be giving away free yards, especially when we have an offense where I don't think the offense is going to be bad by any means. I think it's going to look a lot better once our weapons are out there consistently. Elijah Mitchell, Kittle, Deebo, Ayuk, and of course, once the best offensive lineman in football is out there in Trent Williams to really help out this team. However, just giving away just all these penalties, it just kills drives on offense, or it keeps drives alive for the other team, and it's really just frustrating to watch. That was one of my big, issues last season, were the defensive pass interference calls. I think we're going to be better at that this year, but we really just have to clean it up on, especially offense, because here's the thing, we're going to be building chemistry with the guys, the first, month of the season. But if we're getting just like stupid penalties that are just knocking us back, it's really, really going to, just like hinder what we're going to be able to do offensively. So I really hope that there's a big focus and an emphasis on that with the coaching staff. Now, you could always argue, of course, that a lot of the penalties called, and I don't know the exact breakdown, were on guys who may not even be on the roster come week 1. But still, it is somewhat of a reflection of the coaching, because, hey, the other team, they're playing in the same game with the same officials, and we are getting way more penalties called on us. So I really hope we can clean that up before week 1. But that essentially, guys, it's my thoughts on the game. Of course, these are just the thoughts from the first half. I just can't bring myself to watch that second half because it was ugly, of course. And it's a preseason game. But I do want to thank again everyone for stopping by the stream. It's a whole lot of fun, and even though the result clearly didn't go the way that we wanted, but I can't wait for the regular season. Once we get to see all of our guys out there, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. It'll be really, really good times. I'm going to have a couple of videos, of course, coming out because it's still 16 days away until the week 1 Chicago game. So there's going to be videos coming out where I'm going to be previewing the season, making some predictions, some expectation videos. And then, of course, we're going to have a big, big preview for week 1. And they'll be there for the live stream. But again, thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. I really do appreciate any and all support. It means the world to me. I'm going to say 2 things now. I'm going to say 2 things. The butt counts. And I'm catching y'all on the flip side.